The heavens above Earth burned red, streaks of fire raking the skies like scars torn by gods. Alien warships broke through the cloud cover, their obsidian hulls pulsing with an energy that didn't belong to this world. The invasion was no whisper. This time, it was a roar shaking every military channel alive. Earth's time was gone. The last war had begun. From the ruins of his abandoned outpost in frozen Alaska, Commander Holt watched flames paint the horizon. The base, gutted and stripped, years ago stood like a corpse of old promises. He remained the lone ghost, wrapped in a tattered coat, frost smoking from his breath. Forgotten. 5 years earlier, they had branded him traitor, scapegoated him for the slaughter at the Europa Gate. The truth didn't matter. His warnings of infiltration ignored, the brass had needed blood, and Holt's name was buried in shame. But they hadn't stripped everything. Beneath the permafrost lay his secret. Years of fury, guilt, and resolve forged it in silence. With scavenged tech, stolen archives, and brilliance sharpened by rage, Holt had built what Earth and its enemies both should have feared. A warship without equal. He called her Wraith. She had never flown. Until now. On a cracked handheld screen, an emergency broadcast flickered alive, a weary general's voice begging for aid. Earth's defense grid collapsing, satellites gone, colonies cut off, capitals burning. Los Angeles, New Tokyo, Berlin, all breaking under fire from orbit. No one expected a full assault. Holt had. "Of course you'd wait until we're broken," he muttered, cigarette trembling in his fingers. "Cowards gut you when you're down." The screen blinked with battlefield coordinates. Earth's fleet scrambled over the Atlantic, outnumbered against dozens of alien destroyers. The end was closing fast, unless the Wraith rose. Holt dragged one last breath of smoke, crushed it into the snow, and descended into the frozen stairwell. Steel doors groaned as a hidden chamber lit with cold azure glow. There she loomed, silent and sleek. The Wraith. Forged for one purpose, domination unseen. Her skin woven from alien wreckage and black project tech. She did not hum. She did not spark. She waited. Holt slid into the command chair. Systems stirred awake with a low thrum. Weapon banks online, cloak integrity perfect, quantum drive steady. The AI confirmed, stripped of voice long ago. He needed no ghost whispering back. Holt locked eyes with the comm screen. "Commander." "Holt," he spoke flatly. "Earth Defense Fleet, authorization Echo 65 fracture." Static. Then, repeat, identify yourself. "I said Holt," he snapped, "and I'm about to save your worthless hides. Watch your flank." He killed the line before they could respond. A low growl rose as the Wraith uncloaked, lifting from ice like a phantom reborn. She carved through the atmosphere like silk, vanishing again in perfect invisibility. Holt's hands held steady, jaw clenched as G-forces pressed. The Wraith's dampeners absorbed the strain, paid for in years of blood and sleepless nights. Higher and higher past the dying satellites into the void where the enemy waited. And there it was, the slaughterhouse of space. Alien ships, dark, precise, circling Earth's battered fleet like wolves. Human vessels, outdated and limping, lit the void in fire as they died. A cruiser shattered near Mars Transfer Point 3, its hull peeling open under pressure, screams cut short in blue vapor. Holt didn't blink. "Forward scope," he ordered. The display widened, red blips flooding the map. The aliens fought like surgeons, cold, calculated, merciless. And yet, there, a flicker. Earth's last survivors clung together over the bay Atlantic. 3 weary cruisers, a handful of interceptors, a mangled orbital gun struggling to fire. Their comms jammed, just as Holt had warned years ago. Then came the static. "Unknown vessel, You are in violation of Treaty Protocol 7. Identify or be engaged. The fleet's voice. They didn't believe him. He understood. Holt shut off the modulator. Only his voice, raw and scarred. "Commander Holt of the Wraith," he said. "Your line is about to vanish. When it does, guard your east flank." He cut the channel. There was no time for politics or cowardice. He wasn't here to be their hero. He wasn't here to save Earth. Not truly. He was here to settle the debt. Holt shifted the Wraith into combat stance. The hum of her cloak dimmed to a low, steady pulse, replaced by silence. The stillness before the plunge. The console came alive, rows of weapon systems arming in sequence, plasma lances, kinetic warheads, particle destabilizers, all experimental, all unproven in war. Perfect. The Wraith dove beneath the alien vanguard, threading the void between. Destroyers so close that without invisibility, she would have been shredded instantly. Holt's breath slowed, fingers twitching as he slid her behind the lead vessel. It loomed enormous, 400 meters long, shaped like a predator's skull, weapon banks glowing crimson. Holt did not hesitate. Target acquired. Fire. The Wraith's dorsal lance flared, blue light stabbing silent across the void, piercing shields in seconds. It carved through armor as if it were paper. No grand blast, only collapse. The destroyer imploded inward, reactor unraveling in a ripple that warped the stars. Just like that, a flagship was gone. Comms erupted. Who fired that? Did we lose the Juggernaut? Something's in the dark. Repeat. Something unseen is hitting us. Panic. Delicious panic. Holt smirked, banking left and cutting under another cruiser. It lashed out wildly, plasma bolts streaking past his wing. Too slow. He slammed the thrusters, dragging the Wraith up along its underbelly, the blind zone in its shields. A cluster of kinetic pods launched. Relativistic slugs tore through the cruiser's heart, ripping her apart from within. 2 down. "Unknown vessel!" A broken voice barked over emergency frequencies. "Identify yourself. No IFF signature. Detected." Holt ignored it. No time. 3 alien interceptors split off, vectoring toward the phantom threat. Sleek, vicious, too fast for most prey, but not enough. Holt spun the Wraith violently, slamming reverse thrusters mid-roll. She tumbled, then leveled, nose to nose with the hunters. He armed the destabilizer, a weapon outlawed by 3 galactic treaties Earth was never meant to know. "Eat this," he muttered. The shot left unseen until impact. The lead craft dissolved, liquefied like wax under flame, atoms tearing apart. The others faltered. Holt looped upward, releasing a micro-missile into the second. It vanished in a bloom as its vent ignited. The third lost nerve, cut engines, and fled. "Coward!" Holt spat, spitting into the can by his seat. The field shifted. Earth's battered fleet had an opening. The aliens drew back, unsettled, reforming ranks. For the first time in years, Holt felt satisfaction. But it curdled instantly. A new presence slid into orbit. Something vast, plated in shadowed metal and etched in glowing red sigils. It hung above the planet like a black moon. Holt's chest sank. He knew that silhouette. Seen once in Captured. Data, again in Nightmares. Their command ship, the High Mind's dreadnought. He had thought it destroyed during Mars. He was wrong. A single pulse rang out. Every alien ship froze. Then, as if leashed, all turned toward the Wraith. They had him. Holt exhaled sharply, slamming every command he could reach. The Wraith surged, full power unleashed. Cloak snapped back, weapons armed, drives primed, but stealth was gone. The hunters had locked on. The first wave came fast. Plasma bursts, tractor locks, gravity mines tearing the void apart, forcing Holt into vicious, twisting maneuvers. The Wraith screamed as shields flared and hull plates groaned under strain. A net grazed her wing, sparks, shrieks of metal. Holt bit down, copper filling his mouth. He didn't falter. He couldn't. If this was where it ended, he'd make it count. He angled straight for the dreadnought. Override safeties. All forward batteries. Target command bridge. His growl cut through the alarms. Warning, heat critical. Systems. Failure imminent. Do it. The Wraith surged, seams tearing with raw energy. Holt's vision blurred as weapons aligned. He unleashed everything, plasma, kinetics, destabilizers, one blazing cascade of annihilation. The dreadnought met him, shields holding the first storm, but the second ripped through. There, a fracture, a crack in the fortress. The Wraith hurled herself forward like a demon. Then came the silence, a bloom of white fire. Holt slammed into the bulkhead as power died. Lights gone, systems gone. The cold swallowed everything. But he was still breathing. Outside, the dreadnought's command deck was gone. He'd hit it. He'd hurt it. Through haze, Holt laughed, broken and raw. Not for victory, but because after years of exile, he mattered again. Smoke curled across the ruined bridge. Sparks spat from ruined panels. He forced himself up, blood running down his face, hands shaking. The silence wasn't peace. It was the void after the storm, when survival itself feels wrong. The ship clung to life. Emergency lights bled red across twisted walls. Life support at 28%. Gravity flickered unstable. Worst of all, the core was dead. Holt staggered to a console, hitting reboot. Nothing. Of course, he muttered, crawling to manual overrides. He had installed them for this. The AI had warned full-spectrum fire could burn the system's hollow. Holt hadn't cared. He still didn't. He'd made the dreadnought bleed, and it had. Beyond the shattered viewport floated wrecks, alien hulks drifting, others circling, uncertain, afraid. The dreadnought lived, but scarred. For a hive mind, that wound was blasphemy. Holt grinned through bloody teeth. Now you know! But satisfaction broke with a chime, an incoming signal, not Earth, not the fleet. From them, his face hardened. He tapped the ruined console, a figure resolved. Thrusters 22%. Recommend retreat. Holt wiped blood from his temple. No retreat. Patch me to Earth fleet. Static. Then a voice, young, shaking. This is Commander Riston. Who the hell is this? The ship that saved your flank, Holt rasped. A pause. You're supposed to be dead. Holt smirked, bitter. Yeah, I get that a lot. Listen, there's a command ship in orbit. I heard it too, but it's not finished. You've got 20 minutes, max, before it strikes back. Pull every surviving ship into lunar shadow. Use wreckage for cover. Stall them. Riston hesitated. You don't issue commands anymore. No, Hall growled, but I still give chances. Then he cut the channel again. He couldn't depend on Earth. They'd failed him before. They'd wasted years preparing for the wrong fight, constructing ships that shone in parades but shattered in real engagements. Hall would have to finish alone. He descended to the lower deck. An emergency sealed hatch waited. The crawlway reeked of coolant and burned circuits, but he forced himself through. Sparks spat from panels. The vessel moaned like a wounded beast. Broken, yes, but not gone. He reached the secondary systems bay. Inside, caged within a glass chamber, rested the Wraith's hidden edge, something Earth Command had never been told about. A living shard of alien technology. Hall had scavenged it after Europa, when cleanup crews stripped wreckage from a scout ship's carcass. Command dismissed it. Unstable, indecipherable, dangerous. They weren't wrong, but Hall studied, deciphered, adapted. The Wraith's cloak, its weapons, even its skeletal hull, all born from that core fragment. And now one last gamble, awaken the source. He unsealed the panel. The object throbbed like a heart, glowing a venomous violet. His hand brushed the interface, and it shivered beneath his touch, like it remembered him. "Link it," he whispered. "Merge it with the core." The ship wailed in protest. "Warning! Alien fusion may cause catastrophic failure." Hall ignored it. He was far past warnings. He flipped the override. The artifact screamed. Not a machine's shriek, but something alive. Hall's skull seared with visions, cities in flames, suns collapsing, voices whispering in tongues unknown. Then, silence. Every light returned, blazing. The Wraith's voice sharpened, stronger than ever. Power at 112%. Weapons operational. Core stabilized. Additional systems available. Hall dropped to a knee, lungs heaving. Whatever happened, it worked. He staggered back toward the bridge. Consoles pulsed with strange glyphs, symbols no human had written. The Wraith thrummed with power, energy surging like blood through veins. Outside, the battle shifted. The alien fleet had realized the Wraith was not just repaired, but reborn. They halted their assault. Instead, they pulled back to the dreadnought, preparing something massive. Hall slid into the pilot's chair, fingers steady. He didn't speak to Earth nor to the fleet. He spoke to the void. Round 2. The Wraith howled forward, cloak fracturing, into shards of fractured light. He forced the engines beyond redline, arrowing toward the dreadnought with singular purpose. The enemy flagship spat everything it had: fighters, drones, shield disruptors. Hall didn't flinch. The Wraith was no longer a weapon. She was vengeance. He dove through firestorms, decoys scattering, precision blasts shredding interceptors, like brittle glass. The Wraith danced, alive, faster than thought. Hall unleashed a seismic disruptor, shattering the dreadnought's forward shield. Then he drove the ship directly into the breach. Alarms wailed. The alien warship's interior flared with unearthly light. Gravity twisted sideways. Hall's vision swam as the Wraith clawed down inner corridors, deep inside enemy steel. This was madness. It was also the plan. "Core overload, initiate final strike," he whispered, sweat dripping. The Wraith glowed white-hot. If he couldn't destroy the entire fleet, he'd sever its head here and now. But as he armed the core, the display ignited. Another voice, another image. "You are Hall." It wasn't the hive mind. This voice came from deeper, older, not from the fleet, but from the artifact. "You should have perished, yet you chose not to." Hall's jaw locked. "Who are you? Not foe, not savior, but we understand why they dread you." The core blinked red. "Do you wish to end this?" Hall hesitated, not out of fear, but realization. The war wasn't only Earth against invaders. It was larger, older, layered. He wasn't merely fighting aliens. He was stirring something cosmic awake. This was no border skirmish. It was the opening shot of a greater war. Still, he breathed. Yes, he triggered the core. The blast erupted through the dreadnought's corridors, a tidal surge of fire and thunder. Hall felt the Wraith shudder beneath him, every plate vibrating as unleashed power ripped through alien steel, through decks, circuits, and living flesh alike. The scream of tortured steel mixed with the wail of something not entirely organic, until the two became one endless roar. Yet it didn't kill him, nor them. Hall blinked against strobing emergency lights. The Wraith clung to existence, barely. Half her systems were gone, but she endured. The suicide dive. Hall hadn't planned on walking away. Yet here he was, burned, bruised, still breathing. Beyond the fractured canopy, the dreadnought hadn't erupted. Not fully. It was shifting, mutating. Hall's stomach turned as the alien hull began to writhe, folding, reshaping like it lived. Armor plates peeled back. Wet matter crawled across steel. The yawning hole the wraith had ripped through its core began knitting shut, agonizingly slow, like a beast regrowing its flesh. Son of a bitch, Hall breathed. It wasn't a vessel. It was alive. And it was awakening. The artifact he'd bound to the wraith hadn't just enhanced, it had roused something ancient. Too late he realized this wasn't about Earth, or war, or invaders. This was about a weapon entombed by something older than empires, something sealed away for a reason. He'd just broken the lock. Core status, he rasped, coughing smoke. The wraith answered, voice fractured but present. Overload complete. Reserves 39%. External conditions unstable. Biometal hostility detected. In English? Hall muttered. Screens flared to life. Live feeds showed the dreadnought, birthing itself anew. Walls twisted into claws, corridors bent into ribs, tendrils spread like veins, writhing with purpose. Lights blinked like firing neurons. Past the cracked glass, a figure slithered, a mockery of a man, skinless, sinew-bound with armor. Not machine, not flesh. Both. And they were coming. Cells rushing to seal a wound. Hall shoved from the console, yanking the emergency rifle clipped under the seat. Old hardware, simple kinetic rounds, fully charged. No strategy left, no retreat, no backup. Just bullets and fire. He kicked the hatch and stormed into the wraith's corridor. The ship moaned under his boots, bulkheads glowing from residual heat. Something landed on the hull above. Heavy, fast. Then again, and again. They're on. Top, he growled. Internal defense is online. Only 22% active. Rear turrets disabled. Corridor guns rearmed. Then hold them, Hall snapped. The wraith didn't answer. She fired. Twin turrets slid from walls, spewing plasma and led into shadow. Screeches followed. Wet, feral, cut short. Silence. Hall pressed on, climbing toward the escape chamber, not to flee, but to ignite. There was one card left. Buried in the engine room, the wraith's last failsafe, an overcharged fusion warhead built only for catastrophe. Hall never thought he'd touch it, but now it was all that remained. He reached the stairs when the ceiling ripped open. The creature dropped. 7 feet tall, cords of muscle plated with dripping alloy. No eyes, no face, just a skull-smooth helm split by a maw of metal teeth. Hall fired. 3 rounds, 2 slammed center mass. Useless. The third struck its leg, staggering it. He rolled as a claw-shredded bulkhead. "Damn you!" he snarled. He emptied the mag. Rounds sparked off armor, punched into meat, slowed it, but not enough. Hall snatched a pipe from the floor and swung. The metal cracked its skull, giving him seconds to dive into the engine bay. He slammed the hatch. Locks hissed. Fists hammered. Behind. He turned to the bomb. It was unremarkable. A cylinder, fuel tank-sized, faintly humming. He popped the panel, fingers flying. Authorization Hall, black line 0. The display blinked. Detonation, 60 seconds. He sagged against the wall, chest heaving. This was it. He'd burn the dreadnought from within. No escape, no glory, just one last stand. Then another voice. Not through metal, not through air. Inside his mind. You will not die here. Hall's eyes widened. Not the wraith, the artifact. Violet light erupted from the core chamber, flooding the room, searing. He screamed, not from pain, but the flood. Memories not his, visions, wars fought in silence across galaxies, civilizations erased, suns consumed. A chorus of alien minds overlapping into one. And he saw himself. Not man, but anomaly. A contagion. You were never part of the design, the voice whispered. But you altered it. The bomb's timer ticked. 27 seconds. What do you want from me? Hall roared. Choice. What choice? Retreat or evolve? The Wraith's lights flickered, his vision fractured. The artifact pulsed deeper, bleeding into the ship, into him. You want me to be like you? He snarled. No, we want you to be what you are. The timer glowed 15. Hall stared at it. He could let it run, obliterate them, obliterate himself, or... He slammed his fist on the console. Abort sequence. The timer died. He didn't know why. Maybe answers, maybe exhaustion, or maybe a darker urge, vengeance against something greater than these things. The dreadnought groaned. Outside, the creatures stopped, drew back, obeyed. Then, the ship opened, not a hatch, like a flower, and the Wraith rose from its chest, Hall inside, lifted like fire reborn. The alien fleet froze, silent, watching, then fled, vanished into dark, retreating beyond Earth's sky. No attack, no pursuit, just void. Hall stood in the cockpit watching, no hail, no orders, no explanation. Only him, and the thing inside. You changed everything, the voice murmured. Good, Hall muttered. They deserved it. Silence ruled for hours. No alien signals, no fleets diving at Earth. Just wreckage. They hadn't been beaten. They had, recoiled, like predators who bite poison and retreat. Inside the Wraith, Hall paced, waiting for a trick. His body ached, his mind burned. Sleep felt centuries away. The artifact pulsed faintly still, quieter, but never gone. He touched a panel. Status, the Wraith answered. Steady now. Structural damage 42%, core stable, alien influence dormant, Earth fleet requesting communication. Hall stared at the blinking comm. They finally wanted to speak. Patch them. Static, then a voice. Young, polished, nervous. Commander Reston. This is Earth Defense Command. Unidentified pilot. State your identity. Hall leaned forward, slow and deliberate. I'm not unidentified, he rasped. I'm Commander Hall, the man you court-martialed and left to die. The silence that followed wasn't technical, it was personal. Then a new voice came over the channel, older, colder. Commander Hall, this is General Thorne. Hall's jaw tightened. Thorne, one of the bureaucrats who had signed his exile, a smooth-tongued officer draped in medals he'd never earned, who had never bled on any battlefield outside a polished war table. I thought you were rotting in some bunker off the grid, Thorne said. You thought wrong, Hall replied, voice sharp. But I did rot, long enough to build something your engineers never had the courage to dream of. We saw what you did, Thorne admitted, tone flat. You saved lives. We owe you for that. But the technology on that ship, the energy signatures, none of it matches anything in our arsenal. Alien enhancements, unauthorized, possibly unstable. There it was, barely an hour since he'd stopped Earth from burning, and already the knives were out. Let me spell it out for you, Hall said. That dreadnought out there? I snapped its spine. Your fleet couldn't scratch it. The Wraith made that happen. I made that happen, and if you think I'll hand her over to your desk-bound cowards for dissection and shelving, think again. Thorne didn't raise his voice. Hull, you're a war hero, but you're also a security risk. There it was, the word, risk. Hull didn't laugh. It wasn't funny anymore. I'm bringing the Wraith in, he said at last. Not because you asked, but because I have things to say, and you're going to listen. Understood, Thorne answered. But Hall recognized that tone. He wasn't coming home. He was walking into a cage. The Wraith descended through Earth's atmosphere, trailing smoke and fire as she cut across the Atlantic. The world below looked wounded. Coastal cities in blackout, towers twisted to scrap, the skies still choked with haze from orbital debris. The war hadn't ended. It had only paused. The scars remained. As the Wraith neared the Defense Command platform on the outskirts of the ruins once called New Geneva, Hall saw the welcoming party. 4 gunships, 2 squadrons of armed soldiers, and a man in a black coat standing at the front. Not Thorne. Hall landed the Wraith but kept her cloak systems hot. If things went bad, he wasn't dying on a landing pad surrounded by nervous kids with twitching fingers. He stepped out alone. The air bit colder than he remembered. The man in the coat came forward. "Commander Hall, I'm Director Kepler, Intelligence Division." "Of course you are," Hall muttered. "Thorne send you to sweep up the mess?" "Thorne's not in charge anymore. After today, there's a new chain of command. And I'm guessing it starts with you?" "No," Kepler said evenly. "It starts with you." That gave Hall pause, though not enough to grant trust. Kepler gestured toward a waiting transport. "We've got survivors, systems to debrief, networks to restore. The war might be stalled, but it's far from finished. Whatever you did up there," he nodded toward the sky, "it terrified them. They won't return without overwhelming force." "Good," Hall said darkly. "I'm not finished with them either." Kepler inclined his head. "And the ship?" "She stays under my command. That will be a hard sell to the Council. Then let them choke on it." For a moment, Kepler almost smiled. "Walk with me." They moved through the ruins of New Geneva, broken glass, burned walls, ozone heavy in the air, once Earth's proud command hub for a dozen nations, now a charred monument to failure. "We had no chance against them," Kepler admitted. "Even with our best weapons, their strikes were surgical, coordinated, until you appeared." "They weren't afraid of our guns," Hall said quietly. "They feared something else." "The artifact?" Hall didn't answer. "Not yet." Kepler's eyes flicked toward him. "We scanned your ship. Some of what's inside, it's not just alien, old, and not from any known galactic source. It hadn't been meant to be found. Then why now?" Kepler asked. "Because I dug where I wasn't supposed to," Holt said, "and they noticed." Kepler's nod was grim. "Then we dig deeper, and we need you." That unsettled Holt more than anything. They weren't trying to kill him anymore. They wanted to use him. Inside the debrief chamber, Holt faced a dozen officials, scientists, and generals. They looked at him like both savior and time bomb. Questions flew. Too many. What was the vessel's purpose? Why did it respond to him? What was the artifact? He gave half answers, evasions. Truth was, Holt didn't know. Only that something ancient had reached back and chosen him. Not because he was special, but because he was willing. That made him dangerous. After hours of interrogation, Kepler pulled him aside. "There's something you need to see." They rode a secured lift beneath Geneva base, into the old Black Project vaults. Inside a sealed chamber, a stasis unit glowed faintly. Another artifact, smaller, pulsing alive. "You're not the only one," Kepler said quietly. Holt stared. The voice in his head stirred, faint but curious. "They've been here longer than we thought," he whispered. Kepler nodded. "And now we have their attention." The second artifact was locked away, like a relic. Climate controls, magnetic seals, armed guards with dead eyes. But Holt knew better. It wasn't history, it was warning. Its pulse was slower than the Wraith's core, but alive, watching. "You knew," Holt said. Kepler didn't flinch. "Recovered 5 years ago, South Africa. Buried in a crater. We thought it was dormant." "It is," Holt said, "for now. Define dormant." "This is how it starts. Quiet, passive. Then something wakes it up, like me." Kepler studied him. "You don't trust anyone." "I trust what I bleed for. That's a short list." Kepler nodded once. "Fair." They left the vault. Holt didn't look back. He felt it already, threaded into him, faint, unbreakable. Above ground, Earth's leadership scrambled. The alien fleet had withdrawn, but scars remained. Nations crippled, colonies dark, food networks shattered. Martial law spread. Rumors burned. A ghost ship. A cursed commander with black eyes. A man who killed a god and lived. They were talking about him. Holt hated it. He wasn't a hero. He was a mistake that worked. Then Kepler came with hard eyes and a tablet full of classified files. "We've got a problem." "Just one?" Holt asked. "This one's different. A deep space post caught a signal. Not Earth, not alien. It matches the artifact. Coordinates. A dead star cluster at the edge of mapped space." "What's out there?" Holt asked. "Nothing. That's the problem. Something called us." They stood in silence. "We're sending recon," Kepler said. "Wrong move. You'll send men to die for data you won't understand. Then you go." The old Holt, the one who followed orders, was gone. Only instinct remained. Someone else was pulling the strings. Still, he nodded. "I'll take the Wraith. Alone. You leave at dawn." That night, Holt sat in the cockpit, stars waiting beyond the canopy. The artifact hummed deeper, as if it knew. "As you led them here," he whispered. "Now show me why." At dawn, the Wraith lifted off. No escort, no fanfare. Just one man and a cursed ship. The journey burned him out. Quantum fuel drained fast. Days blurred into hallucinations, memories, screams of dead worlds. A dozen alien voices whispering. The same warning. It wakes. It spreads. It changes everything. When Holt emerged from jump, the sector was cold. A graveyard of black stars. His sensors lit up. One ship, dead, drifting in orbit around a shattered moon. Human hull, EDF Regulus. Holt frowned. "How the hell did you get this far?" The Regulus had vanished 3 years ago. Disavowed. Crew presumed lost, but here it was. Silent, scarred, still bleeding. Atmosphere vented from a gash in the ruined thrusters. Hall brought the Wraith in cautiously, docking with weapons ready. He boarded with his rifle raised, every step deliberate. Inside, it was colder than the void outside. Frost clung to the walls, bodies floated weightless, eyes wide, mouths frozen mid-scream. They hadn't died from vacuum exposure. They had died in terror. Hall drifted slowly through the dead ship, checking shattered terminals, swiping through. Fragments of corrupted logs. Then he found it. One recording still intact. Static blurred the screen before a ragged voice cut through. "This is Commander Elric of the Regulus. If anyone hears this, do not answer the signal. It's not a distress call. It's a trap. The artifact we recovered, it isn't a beacon. It's a door." The image flickered. Behind Elric, shadows twisted. Crew members muttering, eyes unfocused. They started seeing things, hearing voices. Then they stopped being themselves. We thought it was biological infection, but it's deeper. It rewrites the mind. It changes what you are. Elric leaned close, face hollow, eyes sunk. It doesn't want Earth. It wants our evolution, and it's using us as the bridge. The feed cut. Hall stood motionless, rifle lowered, silence heavy around him. A door, not a signal. Earth wasn't the target. It was just the keyhole. And someone had just turned the lock. He left the corpses of the Regulus drifting in eternal night and returned to the Wraith. Engines flared, pulling him away. The ship's voice broke in. "Long-range scans. New signal detected." Hall's blood froze. Not from the Regulus. Not from Earth. From deep space. Hundreds, no thousands, of artifact signatures, stirring awake, moving. All of them headed for Earth. The jump home was chaos. The Wraith tore from the quantum corridor, screaming with alarms, hull overheating, consoles sparking like red stars. Hull fought for control, barely keeping her stable. Through the cracked haze of warning lights, Earth appeared, serene, suspended in black oblivion, unaware, defenseless. Hall saw the truth now, sharpened by too many dead ships, too many nightmares. Earth had no idea what was coming. He opened a channel. "This is Commander Hall. Do not respond. Just listen." He paused, voice steady but hollow. "The signal we believed was a beacon. It isn't. It's bait. The Regulus vanished because it opened the wrong door. I've seen the door. I've seen what waits behind it. And now they're coming." He sent the corrupted logs, encrypted hard enough that even Kepler couldn't dismiss them. Then he waited. For 3 minutes. The channel was silent. Then Kepler's voice arrived, low, tired. "You saw them?" Hall didn't answer directly. "There are thousands, maybe millions. They aren't ships, they're alive. Living technology, evolving. And they're converging on us like we're the final piece in their design." Another pause. What do they want? To finish what they started. Panic didn't erupt in headlines or public speeches. It was quieter, colder. Defense commands sealed the gates. Colonies went dark. The lunar bases cut transmissions. Anyone listening would hear the silence of a species realizing too late it was not alone and never had been in control. Hall guided the Wraith down through clouded skies, setting her into the hollow of an Icelandic glacier, a hidden fortress of stealth fields and automated cannons. No welcoming party waited, only frost, shadows, and the hum building inside his chest. The artifact had changed. It no longer whispered. It called. Hall stood in the engine bay, shirt stripped off, staring at his reflection in steel. He looked older, harder. Veins pulsed faintly with a dim, unnatural glow. The whites of his eyes had grayed, as if something within had claimed them. His body didn't feel entirely his own. "Status," he growled. The Wraith's voice answered. "Smoother now. Less machine, more alive. Artifact integration, 62%. Biomechanical link, stable. Vital signs, evolving." Hall swallowed hard. He didn't want to know what evolving meant. Kepler arrived that night. No entourage, just a single drop ship. He disembarked into the freezing wind, coat snapping, eyes hollow. "We're in deep," he said simply. "You don't say." "The council's split. Half want to surrender, half want to fight. The rest cling to denial." Sounds about right. Kepler's lighter sparked, cigarette trembling between his fingers. He exhaled smoke like resignation. "You were right, Hole. We weren't ready." "You still aren't." Another drag, another pause. "You ever think we're not supposed to win this?" Hall didn't answer. He already knew. Kepler's gaze shifted to the Wraith. "She's changing too, isn't she? She's not just a ship anymore." "Then what is she?" Hall met his eyes. "She's listening." An alarm cut the moment short. A ping from deep space. Hall sprinted inside, systems flaring awake at his. "Command! Show me!" A map unfolded before them, holographic light spreading like a wound across the dark. Dots, dozens, then hundreds, multiplying. A wave forming, rolling toward Earth's system. Every single one radiating the same impossible signal. Every blip on the map carried the same signal, the same death. "ETA?" Hall asked. 3 days, the Wraith replied. Hall turned slowly to Kepler. "You don't have the firepower to stop them." Kepler's jaw flexed. "Then what the hell do we do?" "We don't stop them," Hall said flatly. "We trap them." The words sounded insane even to him, but instinct gripped him, sharper than any strategy. He understood now. What they wanted wasn't Earth, not him, not humanity. The artifact, the one pulsing in the Wraith, the one buried beneath Geneva's vault. They weren't tools. They were magnets, and magnets could become bombs. Kepler didn't argue. He just nodded grimly. "I'll begin evacuation protocols." Hall worked 36 hours without pause. He tore into the Wraith's core, splicing overload circuits, rewiring conduits into feedback spirals, binding the artifact housing into a singularity pulse. A weapon so dangerous, no one had dared to imagine it, except him. By the second night, he was coughing blood. His skin burned with a fever beneath the surface. Veins shimmered faintly with alien light. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. At dawn on the third day, the fleet arrived. Their coming wasn't thunder. It was silence. They simply appeared. Perfect geometry spreading across the void. Black silhouettes blotting out stars. Earth's defenses opened fire. Railguns, lances, plasma bursts. Futile. The first wave of human ships vanished like dust swallowed by a tide. From orbit, Hall watched. It all through the Wraith. Nerves fused to the command seat, body half machine, mind stretched between signals. He was no longer just Hall. He was the Wraith. And together, they were Earth's last chance. He primed the core. The artifact screamed. Every enemy vessel turned at once, drawn to the surge. Formation shattered. They converged on him like predators scenting blood. Kepler's voice whispered through the comm one last time. "You sure about this?" "No," Hall said. "But I'm sure I'm not human anymore." He severed the channel. The Wraith ignited. Power coursed through her veins, light bursting outward in a wave no human tech had ever touched. Hall sat cocooned in the tendrils coiled into his spine, chest burning as the alien core throbbed like a second heart. Pain vanished. Only purpose remained. Above him, Earth hung battered, its shields buckling, atmosphere trembling. Around it, the enemy waited. Hall whispered into the void. "Come and get me." The Wraith answered with light. A shockwave radiated across the black, pulsing with quantum code. A challenge. The swarm responded instantly, breaking ranks, rushing toward him like wolves. Hall dove into them. The Wraith moved. Like liquid shadow, twisting through gravity shears, weaving past searing lances. Her weapons spat anti-Ural disruptors, tearing biomechanical flesh from steel skeletons. Every enemy shredded birthed 3 more. It was endless. It was perfect. He wanted them bound to him. The artifact made it so. He tore toward the edge of the system, dragging them all with him. Earth shrank behind, vanishing into the... He stopped. The enemy surrounded him. No fire, no threats, just silence. They waited, because this wasn't just a battle. It was a choice. He could surrender. Let the artifact unfold, become their seed, their vessel, the rewritten future of humanity. Or he could end it. The Wraith's core thrummed. It had gathered enough from the chase. It could release it all now. One burst, a quantum detonation. It would kill him. Shatter the artifact. Collapse the hyperspace corridors that linked them. No retreat, no survivors. Cold sweat slid down his brow. His eyes reflected no humanity anymore. He remembered Europa. Betrayal. Exile. The silence of the stars. He'd never been a hero. But maybe he could die like one. He armed the detonation. The Wraith screamed, a sound beyond hearing, vibrating across the void. The enemy closed in, tightening the noose. The core burned white. Hall leaned back. Burn in hell. The blast wasn't fire. It was freedom. Light erupted brighter than a star, consuming everything. The fleet unraveled, their bodies torn into dust, their signals silenced. The wave ripped through hyperspace itself, tearing the corridor apart. Then, silence. The Wraith was gone. So was Hall. So was the artifact. Earth survived. The swarm never returned. Weeks later, skies cleared. Nations rebuilt. Humanity whispered of the man who had saved them. No one agreed if he was soldier, myth, or ghost. But far beyond the rim of galaxies, in the hush between stars, something stirred. A voice echoed. You are not supposed to win, and somewhere in the void, a faint violet light flickered once, then vanished.